Chatting with Chad is the place to be. Every day at 7 p.m. turn on your TV. You might see some things that you never see, but at the end of the day, it's reality. We talk about things that's good and bad, but it always stay good when you're chatting with Chad. We got spirit, got soul, got uplifting things, but you'll always be happy with the joy he brings. He's one of those guys, he's one of a kind. Any problems that you have, just keep them in mind. Before you know, he'll be there right by your side. It's almost like he's a spirit sent from the sky. It's the chatting with Chad. It's the chatting with Chad. It's the chatting with Chad. It's the chatting with Chad.
The Chad with Chad Show.
Hey, Chad, how you doing today? Good to see you, buddy. You're looking great today.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's everything going?
Going great.
Go
Going
ahead.
great. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
So how is everything going, Mr.
It couldn't
President?
be better. I
Couldn't be
love
better.
my classes and love my students.
Really, really. So
bet.
how is this? How has this year, school year, started off for you? What do you like the most?
It started extremely well, Chad. I've got a senior class this year that is very motivated, a high skill level class this year, and I fell in love with them the first week.
Really?
Don't tell them.
So who is it that influenced you to become a teacher?
My wife, she in 10 years ago now, well actually it was 12 years ago now, my wife changed careers and encouraged me. I had mentioned to her that I'd like to teach sometime in this lifetime, and she said, well, if you're going to do it, you better hurry up. And I'd been in the business world for 30 years doing all kinds of oddball stuff, and decided that she was right, and she gave me the courage when I saw her change her careers to what she really loved doing, and so I took a chance, and it's the best decision I made in my life other than marrying her.
Did you know then that you had the love for teaching?
Yes,
You did
I
know that?
knew it. I had substitute taught when I was a part owner of an outboard boat and motor dealership, and the winters would be, it was off season. And so I did a little bit of substitute teaching back in the early 90s, and decided that at that time that I kind of liked it, but I kind of just got lazy for a few years before it really dawned on me that, hey, this is serious, and you need to do something about it if you really believe it's serious, and I've never regretted it for a second.
Describe your philosophy of teaching.
You know, I think that my philosophy of teaching is basically revolves around the concept that, first of all, I believe this: when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I'm hoping I have a lot of students that are ready. But really, as an English teacher and specializing in literature and Shakespeare and those kinds of things, what I discovered over the years is that I really am not smart enough to teach literature.
Really?
Yes, but what I think I can do is I think I can use literature to teach you about life. And if I can give you one little bitty piece of anything that will help you succeed in your life, I've succeeded.
You know, I think that's interesting because how do you, as a teacher, how do you teach your students to become more accepting of one another?
Wow, what a day for this interview to take place on 9/11, because that is something that I talk to my classes about today.
Really?
Yes, that this day that we don't celebrate it, but this day that we acknowledge this event, this tragic event that happened in our life. And that's one of the things I try to bring up about this, is that I hope to see this kind of a day become a day where people come together rather than separating themselves.
Would you describe yourself as a tough teacher or an understanding teacher?
I think a good teacher has to be a little bit of both. But
How so?
well, in that I have to recognize that my students, they're people too. They have real problems. They have real things going on in their lives. A lot of times, situations and circumstances that I can only imagine, and some of them are quite desperate. And so I do have to be understanding when I have a student that's late every day for first period, and she has to get her baby to daycare. I have to be understanding, but I have to be tough in that I still have expectations. She still has. I see high school career. That's still my student's job, first job, get that high school diploma. And I have to be tough. I cannot let a student leave my class that doesn't understand that in our world, you don't get something for not doing what's expected of you. And that's more than anything, I think, what I try to instill in my students, that you must do what you're expected. If you don't do what's expected of you in my class and I pass you, I've taught you the wrong lesson. Go.
When I say this, I'm speaking of it from experience. You are a gentle soul. You seem so calm and tranquil.
Thank you.
Where does that emanate from? Where does that come from? Being that we live in such a chaotic world.
That had to come from my father. He was a very kind, gentle soul, and I would say his example was just one that showed me that anger and getting red in the face and getting in your face, that was not going to work to anybody's advantage. And I feel like it's the real me. I can't fake it any other way. I can kind of act like I'm mad every now and then, but I don't fool my students for long.
Your students know you as Mr. Perkins. Your wife know you as husband, best friend. Who are you? Who are you inside?
Oh, I'm a guy that's got a lot of questions, and I'm searching for answers. And even at my age, I see myself as a seeker of knowledge. I think the people that have it the most together are the people that realize how much they don't know.
What an answer. I really enjoyed that. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chad. It's been great seeing you again. Good luck.
How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Once a tour, always a tour.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Mr. Merritt, you have been teaching for 30 plus years.
Yes.
What is it that keeps you coming back after the 30th year?
Goodness. Oh, Chad. It's been 36 to be exact.
Wow.
I think it's the students. It's the students and the idea that even when I think I'm ready to retire, another group of students will come through, and then I want to see them through graduation. So it's the students and the love that I have for what I do.
So who influenced you to become a teacher?
I will say it and repeat it as long as I have breath in my body. Number one, of course, my mom, my first teacher. But then I have to say it's my high school speech and debate coach, Mrs. Susan Burris, now Susan Martin.
Really?
It has to be her. She was my guardian angel.
Really?
Had it not been for her, when I was dismissed from the football team, my junior year at Ball High, the spring of my junior year, she saw a change in my attitude and my behavior. And she just asked me one day, she said, "What is wrong with you? Something has changed. You're not the same person that I met the fall, I guess that would have been the fall of 1970. Ooh. And I told her what happened. I said, I've been dismissed from the football team. If I don't get a football scholarship, I don't know what I'm going to do. She said to me like a mother would, if you're not going to play football, join the speech and debate team. She said she'd seen enough potential that I would do good in competitive speech and debate, which is forensics. I did my senior year, and it was magical. My senior year was magical. Scholarships, opportunities came around, but it had not been from her. Had it not been for her to see my pain and encourage me to join the debate team, I never would have been introduced to high school competitive speech.
And from that point forward, you were...
From that point forward, from that year, I had a phenomenal senior year, district championship in poetry interpretation, regional finalist, one position from going to state in poetry interpretation my senior year. Won the district championship in Alvin, Texas. Went off to Texas A&I University in Kingsville, Texas. The alma mater of my high school coach, of Miss Burles, was mentored under her college coach for 4 years. From there, back to Galveston. I thought I was going to be in Dallas, Austin, Houston, because I interviewed with those districts. But it so happened that I wound right back here in Galveston. Served for a couple of years, and all my professional teaching career has been here in Galveston. So I've come full circle. As I tell people, I'm a welcome back Carter, going back to the 1970s sitcom, Welcome Back Carter. So a guy who returns to his high school and teaches the Sweat Hogs. So that's me. I'm a welcome back Carter, and I love it.
Wow. What do you love the most about your students?
Two types. Number one, those students who are on the speech and debate team, they may come to me maybe not having a junior high school experience, and to see them competitively be so shy and introverted and just scared out their breath. They don't know what to do. But to see them a few years later say, Mr. Merritt, I got this. I'll explain to the novices or to the freshmen what the nature of competition is all about. To see that transition, shy, introverted, to now confidently schooling others and mentoring others, that means a lot. So seeing the transition and seeing them being so proficient and competitive in competitive speaking, that's one. The second is seeing that student in class who is waiting for that light to come on. The light is there, the switch is there. They're just waiting to see a teacher who cares that light comes on. I think students like that, they don't care how much a teacher knows, but they do care how much a teacher cares. And they can sense it. They can tell when you're for real and when you're putting on, or if you're just here to pick up a paycheck. So those type of students, the competitor who gains that confidence, and the student who, like my high school coach, can see something in them and try to do their best to bring that out.
Take us to the day of the tournament, and you have to ease the students, because I'm going to tell you right now, public speaking is not an easy task. How do you ease a person? How do you ease a student to come down to give their best?
You never want to get rid of the butterflies, the nervousness, the apprehension, the sweaty palms, the trembling in places that you never trembled before. You never get rid of the butterflies. You just want them all to fly in the same direction. So we get those butterflies to go in unison in the same direction by, number one, making sure you're prepared. If you've done all the research you can to be prepared, the nervousness should come. The second thing we might do is tongue twisters.
I remember those.
Do you remember those tongue twisters? Oh man, everybody remembers Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. But when you can go with Silly Sally has some butter, but no, Betty Botter had some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. I will put this bitter butter in my batter. It will make my better batter bitter. And the student winds up laughing at themselves, relieving some tension. You'll see some students physically doing exercises or stretching just to keep a body at ease. So I guess what I'm saying, the first thing, you must be prepared. Do all you can, because a good presentation, be it interpretation, debate, or public speaking, comes from someone who's prepared. Sometimes success is nothing but opportunity meeting preparation. So if you're prepared, and then that nervousness that you feel, the apprehensiveness, the butterflies, if you will, you want to control that and let that adrenaline work for you to make your presentation more dynamic. If you look at it blasé, oh, I can do this, or it's nothing, you're not really gearing up that adrenaline flow to make your presentation dynamic. So those are 3 things that we do to just make sure prepared, tongue twisters, and then the confidence to say, I can get in there and do it, and be as competitive as anyone else.
So it is normal to be nervous.
Yes, in fact, it should be par for the course. You should be nervous. You're just taking that adrenaline, and that's all it is, a rush of adrenaline. You just want to control it by telling yourself, number 1, I'm prepared. Number 2, I owe it to myself to relax and not let the nerves come, because all the time I put into it. And then number 3, I am confident. I can.
What is it if a student want to become a public speaker, or they want to be in the speech class? What are the proper steps they should take for next year, for now, and for years to come? What should they do?
I have students on the competitive debate team who are not even in the class.
Really?
Because of the GPA or AP, GPA, pre-AP, it hurts some students to be in the class because we're just regular grade point average. But if they express an interest, the desire has to be there, the pathos, if you will, the passion has to be there. If they're willing to say, I'll work before school, after school, in between classes, stop by my room to get the information, the door is open to them. Number 2, to get over that, and it's not all about winning trophies. I tell the students, I'll share this story. The salutatorian at Ball High a few years ago came to me in tears and said, Mr. Merritt, I feel bad, I never won a trophy for you. And I had to set him down. And I said, if that's the impression I've given you, I have not done my job. The benefits of being on the speech and debate team could manifest itself years from now when a student like yourself is conducting an interview. When they go for a job interview and they know the importance of appearance and speaking correctly, or presenting themselves with a firm handshake, or being able to adequately answer a question directly. Those are the benefits, the intangibles, if you will, the lifelong skills of being on the speech and debate team. So it's not all about just winning trophies. They're fine, but I think the student gains much more. That self-confidence can never be taken away. The organizational skills can never be taken away. And even if you're not a good speaker, if you become more of a critical listener, because that's the flip side of being a good communicator, you become first a good listener. So those are the intangibles. Those skills will last a student a lifetime. They become lifelong skills. So if a student is interested, the door is open. Whether they sign up for the elective year-long debate 1, 2, or 3 class, or if they say, I can't take the class, but I'm willing to learn. I'll listen to my Letterman. They will become mentors, and I believe in passing of a torch. If one coach can't do it, if I'm busy, those seniors, those Lettermen, know that it's important for them to give just like someone gave to them. And that keeps the legacy and the winning tradition going at Ball High.
Define yourself. What is it that you want your students to know about you and students to come?
I think I want students to know I care, that I'm one of them. I am a proud graduate of Ball High School. Happy to say class of 1972. And we're celebrating our 40th year reunion. I am a BOI. I am a Ball High School graduate. Purple and gold runs in this body. And because of the love I have for my students, I want them to see that in me. I want them to see that I'm one of them, no matter where you come from. If you have a determination to go somewhere that maybe someone in the family hasn't, you have somebody in me who will help you make. If they make that first important step that becomes so difficult, I'm here to help them make the second step. The other thing that classifies me is that I'm always a student. I think it's important to give back, and I'm willing to learn. I think, like the other teachers mentioned earlier, and I heard another interview, again, I'm constantly finding out, and I'm going to forever be a lifelong student. But I'm always curious to find out what I don't know and versus what I know. So they need to know I care, that my soul bleeds purple and gold, that I'm only a teacher because of the impact that my teachers had on me, and of course my mom, my first teacher.
What do you know for sure about Ball High?
What do I know for sure about Ball High?
What do you know for sure?
For sure, that we're winners. There's a quote that says something about our biggest fear. Our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our biggest fear is that we are more powerful beyond measure. Some students are just waiting for that light to come on. And I just do believe that from our socioeconomic makeup, here at Ball High, we are the perfect example of the dynamic experiment called integration that happened in the late 60s, where you had the coming together of all races and people together. Instead of having a predominantly African-American Central High School and a predominantly white Ball High School, we merged together for Ball High School. That was some bumpy roads there in those early years.
Really?
But I'm happy to say that I was part of that, or I've been told I've been part of that transition to smooth that segregation into integration. So Ball High, the one thing I do know is that we're winners, and we can do. I think there's nothing we can't do collectively from the various ethnicities on our island coming together and making it a dynamic force.
Of all your 36 years of being a teacher here, was there ever a time when the student taught you instead of you teaching them?
Oh, every day. Every day. In fact, in the community, every day. In the communication process that I teach in my class is not necessarily me lecturing or whatever, but I become the student. The communication process simply is the speaker, a message, and a listener. I love to flip the script and I become the listener. When they come in with news summaries or say, Mr. Merritt, I have the story that you mentioned to us about a female who's the varsity football player for her team, and they say, I have it right here. I take their seat, and then they take the front of the room and they talk. Same thing happened to me in junior high school when Mrs. Dalbergo at Austin Middle School, and it was a traditional 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. We were studying Texas history. She was a history teacher. And I would love the part about the Texas Revolution, the Battle of the Alamo, San Jacinto, etc., Stephen Foster, David Crockett, William Travis. And I told her I love that. She said, Michael, if you outline your material, I'll let you teach the class. She let me do it. And she took my seat. She said I did such a good job that I should consider teaching, better than she could have done. So likewise with what Ms. Dalbergo did, I love when the student says, I have it, I say, go to the front of the room. You share with the class, and then I'll ask the questions. So yes, every single day, I let the student, or the student is empowered to be the teacher. And like I said, the more I live, the more I know, I learn what I don't know. And students can enlighten me.
Wow. What do you want your legacy to be?
Somebody who wanted to give back. Again, I'm a teacher now only because of the impact my teachers had on me. Not only Ms. Burroughs, but Mr. J.W. Weaver, who taught here for 23 years and was like a father to me. But they need to know, and the legacy should be, that I cared. And I tried to inspire, encourage them. On the debate team and the speech and debate team, the one thing that they know is that I'm like an encourager. I want to encourage them and say, even if we lost that round or if we didn't advance, what we're going to do next time. We'll dust ourselves off and get ready for the next round. And we will persevere, persevere, persevere. One of my key things I tell the students is that the biggest room in the world the biggest, the largest room in the world is the room for improvement. I want my students to know, my legacy to know that I'm always going to encourage. If we don't succeed the first time, we're going to persevere and try it again. Like the old saying says, I'll shoot for the moon. If I miss the moon, at least I land among the stars.
Wow. What a way to end. I really enjoyed it. Full circle moment. Full circle moment. I enjoyed it.
I love it. And I'm only a teacher because, again, the impact, I owe it to myself, not about money, but to give back like someone gave to me. And that, to me, that's the
Times get hard.
Thank you.
You better wipe your tears. Give God all your things. See, life is not easy, but times get hard. Keep your head up, stay strong, and have faith in God. He's straight out of detail, born and raised where it goes now. He came from the bottom, but look where he at now. Long as you believe, then you will achieve. Don't ever let nobody come between you and your dreams. It's the challenge with child.
Chad with Chad Show.